Hi and welcome to my next video, and today I'm going to talk about my studio headphones. I've got two pairs here. I've got my Beyerdynamic DT100s. It's my second pair, and here is a pair of Grados SR60s. And this is my second pair of Beyerdynamics. They're like a studio standard pair of monitoring headphones, and they're high impedance, 2x400 ohms, 400 ohm drivers. So that means that I think they take a bit more power. They take a little bit more power to drive them. And I'm using them on my computer with my RME sound card. And I kind of cheaped out when I bought these. Both of these, I got them on Craigslist. My second pair of Beyerdynamics, the first pair I had, one of the side's driver died. And when you buy a new driver just for one side, I think it's around maybe $100 including shipping, just for one side driver. So I was able to find a whole new pair of working Beyerdynamic headphones with two working drivers for about $100. So I bought that. So now I have two pairs. And how do I describe the Beyerdynamics? They're heavy. They sound very flat, and they're very detailed. They give you all the details you need when you're working with your music. And they are comfortable, even though they are heavy, they're comfortable. The wire comes just on one side, and you can take it out. I've had to rewire. It's easy. There's a little screw in here, so it's easy to put a new wire in here if you need to rewire it. Very easy to do that. And these are my Grados, which I again bought on Craigslist. I think I got them for $80 or something. And they're from the United States. They're like the Beyerdynamics are from Austria or Germany, and the Grados are from New York, USA, American company. So what people who know these headphones, the first thing you're going to notice when you notice these headphones is that the pads are not stock pads. And I first replaced the pads on the Beyerdynamic, so let's talk about that first. So I have a shop here in Vancouver that sells leather, and it has sort of a bin, and you can buy scraps of leather of different colors. So I bought a whole bunch of different scraps of leather, and then as you can see, I used kind of a two-tone leather. I don't know if you can see that, but this one's kind of a dark brown, and this one here is a gray. So I decided to go with two-tone leather. You can see the holes are kind of the holes where the sound goes through are kind of very rough. They do the job, but they don't look very professional. They're just kind of like, I just tried to get the sound through, and wasn't really sure how to make the holes in the leather to do it. So I'm going to quickly go through how I made these pads. Basically, you take off the old foam, and the old foam is like made of a kind of a synthetic leather, sort of a plastic covered foam. And then there's like a piece of tape that goes, like sort of a rubber tape that goes all the way around here. You can see there. They fit nice I could actually glue that in place if I wanted to. But they just kind of fit over that. You can see that they're cut just to fit. They're cut like in the shape the leather's cut in the shape of this section, so it just goes right over. And so anyways, to make a long story short, I didn't see any nice replacement ones on eBay that look good, so I thought, hey, I'll just try making my own. So yeah, I got the, you basically take the pads off, you take the old headphone. Actually, I think I'll just take this right off. It just comes right off. So you can see the foam is still in there. That's the old foam, and that foam was covered by plastic. So you basically carefully take the plastic. If you're going to do this yourself, you take the plastic off. There's plastic tape around here. So you take that off, and then you have your headphone pad, and then you just basically, it's kind of sort of glued together. And if you're careful, you can take the pad apart and take the pieces of the pad apart just by pulling them apart. And then you've got sort of a plastic template, and you've got a plastic template for this piece of leather right here. So you can kind of make a plastic template, and then the leather will fit nicely over there, and it'll just catch on that sort of right here. I'll just catch around there and hold. So yeah, that's how I did it. Yeah, so I made it out of the old plastic. I made the template and cut the leather, and then cut this bigger piece. And then, as you see, I recycled the foam. The original foam, you know, you have to be delicate. You can save the original foam. And then I just shoved the original foam inside there. So I'm using that foam inside there. So, and then what's handy to have is these curved hooks. You can get them on eBay. Curved like sewing hooks. I think they're actually used for like sutures, and I think it's like a suture kit or something like that maybe. But I got them on eBay for, you know, $2 or something. And then you get this wax thread. They have them in different colors and different sizes, different thicknesses. So you can get this wax thread at your local hobby store or fabric store. And this one I used kind of a white cream colored. And I didn't do any fancy stitching whatsoever. I just kind of held the leather together and used my eye to make sure it was nicely together. And then I did each one separately and stitched them together, just sort of eyeballed it. I didn't mark out the holes or pre-make the holes or anything. So I just kind of went around and just, you know, maybe 1/8 of an inch in from the edge and just went all the way around. And stitched is just a general loop stitch, nothing fancy at all. So what's the verdict? The verdict is that they feel much nicer than my old ones. They're very comfortable. They transmit the sound nicely. And I have to say, I'm happy in every way with the result. So they stay on. The leather stays on. And I think it was a great result, a great first effort. And I see these lasting a lot longer. And actually, they look kind of sharp with the two colors. They actually look pretty nice too. So, yeah, I think it was a great result that I got with this, and they feel so much nicer than my deteriorating sort of plastic pads on the other my older the older pads that were originally on these Beyerdynamics. So that's basically it. You just put the leather out, take off these old plastic pads, pull them apart gently, and then they come apart in pieces, and then you have basically the template to make your new pads. And you could glue them in place, but I just kind of sting them there and they stay. You don't need to glue them. Okay, so just this morning I finished my other set of headphones, and these are my American-made Beyerdynamics. I went to the same fabric store and I got a bunch of different types of leather, and I went with this cream, sort of shiny leather, stiff, it's kind of a stiff leather for the outside pieces, and I went with sort of this sort of suede leather for the inside pieces. And for this one, what I did was I heated up, I have a small pair of vice grips, and then I put a I put a small drill bit, maybe, an 1/8 inch drill bit, or maybe even a 1/16 inch drill bit, maybe even a 1/16. And I put that in the vice grips, and I heated it on a gas stove until it was red hot. And then I poked the holes, and I did all the holes through the leather, obviously, before I put it all together, right? So that's how I made the holes to transmit the sound. Now, originally on these Beyerdynamics, it's just a flimsy piece of foam on here. There's nothing else. And what happens is to take now, what happens with these Beyerdynamics is that this plastic piece under here, it pulls right out. And there's videos showing you how to take these apart. You kind of have to heat up the, I think you have to take these out and then put this in a little bit of hot water, like a very little bit of hot water, so you don't wreck it, and then it heats it up, and then somehow you have to pry these apart. And as you can see, you can pull it apart. The whole driver you can pull apart. Boom. And then this piece, there's a piece inside here. So it kind of sounds really complex, but once you have the drivers out, then desolder the wire from the driver, and then put and then again you can use this piece here as a template for the circle, for the middle circle. See that middle circle? So you can use that as a template for this middle circle. And then there's a piece of foam in here, and the piece of foam is the original driver, or the original foam. And I reused that foam inside as the foam inside here. And then the diameter of this circle, you kind of use your piece of foam and then find a circle somewhere. In my case, I had a little bowl in the cupboard that was a little bit bigger, maybe a 1/2 inch bigger diameter than the piece of foam, because you want the piece of foam to fit inside it. So you want the leather to be just a little bit bigger so you can comfortably stitch it in. So that's how you find this diameter. And then you have to find the center. Here's how I find the center. Once you cut this large disc of leather, you fold it in half this way and then mark the center. Fold it in half the other way, mark the center, and then you have the exact center. And then you sort of measure the diameter and mark that out against the center. It sounds really complex, but then you get the approximate center, so it's all centered. You could probably do it by eye and do a pretty good job too. And then you have the template for this leather. And then you just use a really decent pair of scissors and carefully cut it out. Cut each piece out. And then again, you use your sort of surgical needle and your suture needle. You can get them in a kit. You can get a bunch of them, different sizes on eBay. And then you use this wax thread. And this wax thread looks really nice. The color matched quite nicely to this brown leather. And then you stitch it all up. Now, what else did I do different is on the original Beyerdynamics, there used to be two wires, one wire coming here and one wire coming here, and I wanted to have just one wire on the one side, and for whatever reason I chose the left side, so it ended up coming at the left side. So basically, this pair of headphones is really easy to convert to that one side situation because you just run the cord through this plastic top and then down in, and I took a tiny circular file, and where the, I don't know if you can see it, but right there where my finger is, where the cord goes in there, I kind of etched out a little half circle in there so that the wire can fit in there. There, you can see it better. So you just take that file and file that channel in there, and then you run the wire around here, and then it only comes out the one side. But here's the beautiful thing about this is that after I did this, after I made these headphones, now these headphones are beautiful, gorgeous sounding headphone. I don't know if nobody's ever heard the Grados. They have a very nice warm tone, beautiful warm tone to them, and they're more sensitive, so they really pick up the noise floor coming off my Soundcraft mixing board. So I kind of had to lower the volume so that I wouldn't pick up every little bit of noise coming from my Soundcraft. But then after you lower the volume, they're dead silent. So they sound, just as good in a different way than my Beyerdynamics. So how would I compare these? These are so light. I wear my Beyerdynamics all the time when I'm working on my computer, and these are just so much lighter. One thing that the leather does is now they're almost like a closed headphone now, which blocks out external audio. So they sound just as good, but the leather that goes around all the way around the edge of your ear seals them quite well. So they're almost like a sealed, closed type headphone. And before I put the leather on, the foam let a lot of the outside noises in. So it's a really interesting transformation of these headphones. It's a much better, the crappy foam that was dying on these Grado, it's so much more of an improvement with this nice leather on there. So I have to say, it's really giving these headphones a brand new lease on life. And so yeah, I hope you enjoy that. And so there's both of them, you can see. So yeah, if you have any questions on how to do that, or I'm sure if you do it, you can probably, if you're more of an experienced leather worker, you can probably do a better job than I did. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy that video. And check out some of my other videos. I do videos on everything from home recording studio, audio gear, software, and just check around. I'm always making new videos on different things. Like, I made a whole bunch of videos on building computers, and just generally any hobby that I'm, the last one of the things I got, it was a metal detector. So yeah, I'm just interested in electronics, making music on the computer. And yeah, so have a great day, and check out my other videos. Cheers.